The Last Night of Jasmine Fiore, a Deadly Love Game. On a sultry August evening in 2009, Jasmine Fiore, a young woman whose life had always revolved around beauty, glamour, and status, stepped into the L'Auberge Del Mar resort in San Diego. Her high heels clicked softly on the marble floor as she walked toward the reception. By her side was her husband, Ryan Jenkins, a handsome, charismatic Canadian who had once dreamt of fame and fortune. But something was off. Their eyes avoided each other, and a tense silence hung in the air. Jasmine, who worked as a model and socialite, was no stranger to the glittering world of the jet set. She was beautiful, with a confident smile, and a look that had brought her into the highest circles of Las Vegas and Los Angeles. But behind that smile lay a world of inner turmoil. Her marriage, which had begun 6 months earlier in an impulsive and reckless Las Vegas ceremony, was on the verge of collapsing under an intense storm of jealousy, anger, and distrust. Jasmine had silently planned to leave Ryan. Their relationship had become a chaotic mess of conflicts, with domestic violence and humiliation becoming the norm. She was ready to escape, but Ryan had other plans. His obsession with her was sick and dangerous. What no one knew was that this would be the night that changed everything, a night where love turned into murder. That evening they dined together, but the conversation was strained. Jasmine tried to remain calm, but the tension in her body was obvious. A few days earlier, she had contacted an ex-boyfriend, and although it seemed like a minor event, it had ignited a fuse in Ryan. He had always been jealous, always possessive. Now jealousy coursed through his veins like poison. After dinner, they returned to their hotel room, a luxurious suite overlooking the coastline of San Diego. The silence between them felt like a threat, on the brink of exploding. Then, suddenly, the bomb went off. A heated argument erupted, quick and intense. Ryan's anger boiled over. Jasmine tried to walk away, but he grabbed her. His hands that once lovingly ran through her hair, now wrapped around her throat. What happened next was chilling in its coldness. As Jasmine struggled for her life, Ryan unleashed his fury. He strangled her with brutal force, his hands unyielding. Her eyes filled with terror, but her fight weakened. Within minutes, the vibrant, radiant woman she once was lay lifeless on the floor of a luxury hotel room. For many, the instinct would be to flee, panic, or scream. But Ryan Jenkins was different. His calm after the murder was terrifying. He looked down at his wife's body and knew he had to find a way to cover up his crime. Instead of panic, he turned to calculation. Ryan dragged Jasmine's body into the bathroom of the suite and began to execute a gruesome plan. He knew that to make her unrecognizable, he needed to remove her teeth and fingers. Driven by a cold-blooded logic, he meticulously cut off her fingertips and removed all her teeth with disturbing precision. He wanted to erase any evidence that could reveal her identity. But even in this dark act of madness, he made a crucial mistake. Jasmine's body still carried a piece of evidence he couldn't remove: her breast implants, which had unique serial numbers that would later be key in solving the case. With her mutilated body stuffed into a suitcase, Ryan left with an eerie sense of calm. He drove to Buena Park, a city about an hour and a half away, and dumped the suitcase in a dumpster, hoping it would never be found. Only 2 days later, on August 15, 2009, a homeless man rummaging through the dumpster found the suitcase. What he saw made him stagger. The body of a young woman, heavily mutilated and without fingers or teeth, lay crammed inside the suitcase. The police were immediately called, but identifying the body was a challenge at first. Jasmine Fiore's world, once bathed in the spotlight, was now hidden in the darkness of a dumpster. The body was so disfigured that police had no immediate way to determine who this woman was. But modern technology would soon catch up with the murderer. Through the serial numbers on her breast implants, they were able to identify her. The woman who once sparkled at parties and in commercials was now the victim of a brutal murder. With Jasmine's identification, the hunt for Ryan Jenkins began. Once the police realized he had been the last person to see her alive, he became the prime suspect. But Ryan, who had meticulously planned the murder, was already on the run. He drove toward Canada, his homeland, hoping he could escape American law enforcement. His escape was as carefully planned as his crime. He took his boat to a remote marina and crossed the border into British Columbia, where he hoped to hide in the vast forests of Western Canada. But despite his escape plan, he knew deep down that his time was running out. The police were closing in on him, and the media was devouring every detail of the manhunt for the charming reality TV star turned murderer. As the manhunt dragged on, the tension grew. Where was he? Would he ever be found, or would he manage to disappear? On August 23, 2009, after 10 days on the run, the manhunt for Ryan Jenkins came to an abrupt and tragic end. In a remote motel in Hope, British Columbia, his body was found. He had hanged himself. The man who had been so determined to destroy his wife and erase all traces of his crime had seen no way out. In the days before his death, he had been hiding under a false name, but the chase had taken its toll. Ryan's suicide provided no answers, no note, no apologies, no explanation, just silence. The deadly love game between Jasmine Fiore and Ryan Jenkins ended in a tragedy that shocked the world. Jasmine's life, once defined by beauty and success, was wiped out by the hands of the man who claimed to love her. Her murder, so gruesome and methodical, underscored the dangers of obsession, control, and violence in relationships. The media quickly began questioning the responsibility of reality TV production companies. Jenkins had a violent past, but this had been overlooked when he was cast for the show Megan Wants a Millionaire. Should his dark side have come to light earlier? How many lives could have been spared if the warning signs hadn't been ignored? For many, Jasmine became a tragic symbol of the hidden dangers in toxic relationships. Her death reminded the world that even the most beautiful exterior can hide dark secrets. The story of Jasmine Fiore and Ryan Jenkins is a cautionary tale about the destructive power of obsession and the tragic consequences of domestic violence. It's a story that shows how love can turn into hate and how beauty, though admired, is sometimes not enough to hide the monsters lurking within.